Hello, everybody. Leo Babauta of Zen Habits here. It is great to be here with you. In this video, I'm going to talk about creating a morning routine. And it's something that a lot of people want to form, and yet we really struggle. Like, how do we actually create it? How do we choose the right things? How do we make time for it? In another video, I'm going to talk about changing your morning wake up time, how to wake up earlier, because that's very connected to a morning routine. But we're not going to go too deep into that now. We're going to assume that you can make the time to create some morning structure for yourself. Before I dive in, I'd love to invite you, as always, to leave a comment. Let me know if there's a topic that you would like me to talk about, from habits to minimalism and simplicity to changing your entire life, productivity, finances, health, fitness, relationships, creating online businesses, all of that kind of stuff. So if you want to hear about any of that stuff, put a comment. Let me know what the topic is that you'd like me to focus on. It's great if you give me a challenge that you're facing that's really real for you, or a question that you have. That really helps. Okay, so morning routine. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is, before we get to some specifics, is the overall mindset when it comes to a morning routine. And some mistakes that people commonly make when they think about how to create a morning routine for themselves. So the first mistake that people make in terms of how they're thinking about it is they try and have the perfect morning routine. The perfect morning routine. And this would be like, I'm going to have this dialed in and this dialed in and this dialed in. Every single thing that I would like my life to be, I'm going to cram it into this morning routine. And it puts a lot of pressure, first of all, on the morning routine to, do everything possible. It also makes it really hard for you to form the routine because it has to be just right. When it's just right, we don't have a lot of wiggle room. We don't have a lot of grace for when we make mistakes or things don't go the way that we expect it to. So we want to remove that pressure from this. If you really want to create a great morning routine for yourself, don't think of this as it needs to be right, or it needs to be perfect, or it needs to be optimal. Let's remove all of those words and say it just needs to happen. I just need to be doing it on a as regular as I can. This is a way for me to empower my life, to set up my day so that I can have an amazing day, but without trying to put more pressure on your day that you already are putting on for yourself. So remove that perfect, optimal, ideal, like it needs to be just right. The second thing is related, but it's that people often make the mistake of trying to put too much into the morning routine. I've seen people who have like 4 hours of a morning routine. Now, all power to them. There's nothing wrong with 4 hours, but for a lot of people, especially if you're trying to just get going with it, that's a lot. And in fact, for most people, I would say that's probably too much. Why is it too much? Well, to start out with, when you create a new morning routine and you stuff it with every possible thing, what you're really doing is setting yourself up for success. Imagine I have two people with the same amount of discipline, same amount of time, same amount of things they need to do. But person A has like 2 or 3 things that they're going to do for like 10 to 15 minutes each, right? So we're talking about anywhere from 20 to 45-minute routine. Person B is trying to put 15 things into it, and it takes them 3 hours, right? 15 things, 3 hours. So we're talking about like 4 minutes. What is that? 12 minutes per thing. So which one do you think is more likely to actually have their routine stick? And the answer is quite obviously person A. Person A with 2 or 3 things of like 10 to 15 minutes each. That person is going to be able to actually accomplish it and start their day off in a really good way and stick to it for much longer. Person B is likely to put it off or just like, I don't have the time. And so that's to get it started, but actually to keep it going for, let's say, a year. Um, Person A is much, much, much more likely to keep it going for a year or more, for 6 months or more, really, for 3 months or more, for 1 month or more. If we looked at the odds of that person sticking to it for more than a month, it's much higher for person A than it is for person B. I'm not talking about like a 5 to 10% difference. I'm talking about magnitude or two of difference. So that's a huge mistake. Another one is to think that I need to stick to a set routine and it has to be the same every single day and for the rest of my life. This is the perfect routine. That's never going to change. That's a mistake as well, because we are people who are changing every day. And if you think that the person you are now is the same as you were a year ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago, you're not very reflective on what you're going through in your life. In fact, I am someone, if you look back, just a few months ago, I am actually different now than I was then, and my needs are different now. The things that I'm facing in my life are different. And so my morning routine will shift. And sometimes I actually drop the idea of a morning routine for a little while, and then I pick it back up when I need it. So these morning routines are meant to serve you and what you're facing today, this week, this month, this season, as opposed to it needs to be this thing that you do in order to like feel good about yourself. That's a mistake, is that we are trying to do the morning routine to feel better, to have some kind of validation, to, something, to be a good person. No, this is a tool to serve you in your day and whatever you're facing in your life. So these are some mindset things that I wanted to put out there to start with. So if you ask me what's my morning routine, it actually changes. Again, for the season that I'm in, and I don't mean like, fall, spring, winter, that kind of thing. Although that might be times to like reevaluate my morning routine, but actually it changes just as my needs change organically. And so I can tell you different things that I've done or what I'm doing right now, but I don't think that's as useful, because that's what is serving me, this guy, Leo, in with the life that I'm facing right now. It is not meant to serve you. So if I tell you my morning routine, you're like, okay, great, I'm going to do that because Leo does it. That is missing the real opportunity for you to look at, what do I need? What would serve me? So what I'm going to do instead is talk about some elements of a morning routine that I think are worth considering. And I don't think that you need to do all of these things, but I do think that some of them are really important. Okay, so let's talk about that. So the first thing is, what would serve you to get your energy where it needs to be so you can set up your day for success? So when you first wake up, maybe you're groggy. Maybe you're just not in a great mood. Maybe you're feeling anxious. These are mental states, energetic states that we are in when we wake up. Maybe as we like hit the news or our emails or messages, like that hits us, and then all of a sudden we're in this like fight or flight kind of mode, or stress, anxiety, feeling behind, overwhelmed, all of that kind of stuff. Maybe you're just feeling like, oh, I don't want to take on the day. It feels too hard. So the first thing that I want to encourage you to do is look at like, what in my morning routine would serve me to get into the right mental, emotional, energetic state. So for example, meditation. It would be a good example of this. Meditation might have you calm down from the anxiety that you're feeling more present, feeling more open. Other things that people do are breathing exercises. Now there's thousands of breathing exercises, so I'm not going to tell you which one to do, but it could be as simple as you do a certain count for the inhale, and then a certain count for a pause after the inhale, so hold the breath, and a certain count for exhale, and a certain count for a pause after the exhale. So for example, there's box breathing, which would be 4-4-4-4. So all fours. There could be 4, 2, 6, 2, something like that. And the exact numbers aren't really important. The effect of those, the counting, is that it slows you down in each of those phases of the breath. And so you can try out different things, try out different breathing techniques, but breathing techniques will help get you in a different energetic, mental, emotional state. What else? Some people do cold showers or cold plunges. Some people do exercise. So exercise can get you into a right state. Some people do dancing. Maybe music is something that gets you in the right state of mind. Maybe it's having a cup of tea or coffee. Maybe it's a big glass of water, a big mug of water. So all of these things are really designed to get you in the right mental, emotional, and energetic state. Now, I don't know what your answer would be. If you're like, I need to have my coffee, great, put coffee in there. But also try some breathing or some meditation. Yoga would be another really good one. Doing some push-ups would be another. Going out for a walk or a short run. I personally don't like to do a ton of exercise so that I'm exhausted for the rest of my day. I like to put my exercise later in the day, so late afternoon, evening. But that's just where I am right now in this season. Other times I have actually done morning runs or morning walks. And so, right now I'm not feeling like I need to do a ton of exercise, but a little bit of movement can really help. Movement and meditation can really help. Another great one is journaling. Journaling, freestyle, just flow of consciousness journaling, where you just let everything out. This really lets you to pour out all of your fears, all of your judgments, all of the things you're feeling anxious about, overwhelmed about. Pour it all out there. And this is not a journaling so that you can capture your information, about how things are going. That's often how journaling is used. Like, I need to document my life. Great, you can put that if you'd like to. This is journaling where you can throw it away, because what we're really doing is letting ourselves pour stuff out. Use voice notes if you don't like to write. So these are different ideas for things you can do to change your energetic state. So pick 1, 2, or even 3 of those things. I would not pick a lot of them. And but pick one, anyone, and try it out for a week. I really encourage you to try them out for at least a week. Don't try one every single day. So try it out for a week, then reflect. How did that go? Did that help my mental state? Do I feel like I'm much more open and ready to take on the world after doing that practice? Okay, so energetic state, we can lump those all into one. Another is, are you creating intention for your day? So I think this is a really important category. So for me, what I like to do is just look at my to-do list and everything else that's pending. My calendar would be another example of that. And I just take that and I write out a short list. What am I going to do today? And that might have some times on it. 10 o'clock I have this call, 1 o'clock I have to do this. But other than that, I might just order them in terms of importance. And this is a short list, maybe 5, 6, 7 things on there. Could be even fewer if those are bigger things. If it's like, I just need to do this 1 or 2 big things, then that's all I have. And so this is a list to help me to focus. And then I just take one of those things, and that is the thing that I'm going to focus on first. Usually the most important thing, maybe the thing that I'm feeling most resistance about or fear about, I might put that first. But it doesn't really matter, because I'm going to tackle all of these things as much as I can. But I like to put the first, biggest, most important one first. So focus, intention. Another thing around intention could be a sentence or a phrase. What do you want to focus on today in terms of how you show up in the world? So maybe you put compassion. Maybe you put focus. Maybe you put integrity. Those are words. So maybe instead you put a sentence like, I show up with my full devotion and heart all of the time. And you can write that down, put it somewhere where you can see it and remind yourself of what your intention is for the day. Another thing you can do in this morning routine is make a commitment to others. What are you going to do today? And this would be a good place to put the scariest things that you're feeling most resistance about. So I'm going to do these 3 things. I'm going to do a workout today. I'm going to, finish this report, and I am going to do my monthly review. So those are my 3 things, and I commit to someone else, one or more people, maybe a group of people where I tell them what my intention is for today. This is also a great time to review your past week. If you once a week, you can, let's say on Mondays is when I like to do it. How did my last week go in terms of my intentions? And then what are my intentions for this week? And then I share that with a group. So these are all kind of lumped together in terms of what do I want to do today? What do I want to do this week? Another thing is time blocking. So maybe you block off things on your calendar or write it out in a journal. It's like these are the blocks that I'm going to use for today. So in this way, we're being really intentional about our day. There might be other things in this group of things of what is your intention for the day. But yeah, these are some things to consider. Now, do you need to do all of these things? No, just choose one or 2 things here in this category. Okay, what else? Well, there might be some other things that you like to do because in the morning, because they help get you in the right state of mind, but also because you want to make space for something that you might not have time for later. And some good example of that would be things around creativity, art, drawing, painting, making some music, writing would be a good example of that. So this could be a good time for your creative time because you're likely to put that off to some other time. So what is a creative activity you'd like to do? Now, this isn't necessary for a morning routine, but often it can be really helpful. Okay, so I've given you a few different categories. So we had the energetic one, this would be meditation and exercise and breathing. We had the intention one, which is like, what am I going to focus on for today? And then we have some kind of thing that you want to be doing on a regular basis. Reading would actually be another one in that category. Reading for pleasure, like novels or fiction, or reading maybe long form articles, or maybe reading some kind of thing that you're studying. So reading would be in that third category of like something that you want to do on a regular basis that you're not likely to have time for later. So pick one from each of those categories, or 2, possibly 3. Maybe the third category you don't care about, but you do 2 or 3 from the first category and 1 from the second category and none from the third. Maybe there are other things that I haven't covered. Maybe you'd like to share a category that I haven't covered at all. So feel free to put into the comments, what's your morning routine? What's the category of things that you find to be really important that I haven't put in there? For example, another category could be connection. What am I doing to connect to others, to myself? Maybe spend some time with your kids. Maybe spend some time with a loved one, your spouse. Maybe you write a letter to your grandmother or your best friend. So connection, maybe send a voice message to someone. So maybe there's a ways that you would like to create more connection. I would actually group connection into the third category there, but we can categorize however we like to. What other things have I missed out here? Some people like to do things like cleaning or decluttering. That can be really nice. Simplifying your life. Getting organized is another one. One thing that I often will do in the mornings these days is I spend some time organizing my finances, making sure all of my transactions are there. How am I doing with my budget? Do I need to make some transfers or some payments? So I will do a check-in around my finances pretty much every morning these days. That is about all I have for you here in terms of what could go into a morning routine. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about here is how to actually create it. So I'm going to give you some tips, and these are going to be reflecting what we talked about in the beginning part of this video is like the mindset. So again, I really think choosing just a few things to do in the morning routine to start with is really, really important. So maybe you choose one from each category. Maybe it's two from one category and one from the second category and none from the third. So you can see here that I'm looking at a range of anywhere from 1 to 5 things. 5 being really ambitious, but if you do 5 things, keep them super short, 5 minutes each. If you do 4 things, same range of 5, maybe 10 minutes each, somewhere in that range. So 5 to 7 minutes is probably a good range if you have 4 things. If you have 3 things, you can do somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes each, maybe 12 or 15 minutes if you feel really ambitious. And if it's 1 or 2 things, you can do 15 minutes each. And so you can see from this that I'm talking about anywhere from 15 minutes to maybe 45 minutes, but I actually would really recommend you go from the 15 to 30 minutes as a morning routine to start with. Now do that every day for a week. And if you're able to hit that, great. If you struggle with it, shrink it down even more, drop something from there or make them shorter so that you can get more consistent. So the real goal is to be showing up for this on a regular basis. So shrink down if you are not able to stick to it consistently. If you miss more than 1 day in a row, shrink it down. If you missed more than 2 days in a week, shrink it down. If you're consistent and you're doing like 6 or 7 days, 5, 6, 7 days out of the week, great. Now you can extend the times just a little bit if you'd like for another week. So just a minute or 2 per thing. You can extend them a little bit if you feel like they're a little bit short, or just stay in that for another week or 2. Or if you're consistent, you can expand them just a little bit. Don't add a new thing into the morning routine for at least the first month. Stick with that. Once you have that first month down and you're really consistent, great. You can add in more. Don't go, much beyond 30 minutes for the first, 2 or 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Like you can maybe creep up to 40 minutes, but don't go beyond that. What we're really trying to do is focus on consistency rather than having the perfect morning routine. So that's something that I would really recommend. Now, a lot of people want to wake up way earlier so they can make time for the morning routine, but you can see here that I'm talking about maybe 30 minutes. And so if you want to wake 30 minutes earlier in order to do this, great. Do not try and wake up an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours earlier in order to create a morning routine. Not at first. Now I'm going to do another video on how to wake early. But for this video, I'm just going to say, don't try and wake up more than half an hour earlier than you normally do. It's a big mistake. In fact, I would actually start with 15 minutes earlier for the first week and then go to half an hour and stay at half an hour for a couple weeks after that. Okay, what else? What we don't want to do is create a morning routine, which is basically a few different things that you have to do that's added on to all the stuff you're already doing. You already have enough of that. So if you're like, oh, here's my long list of things to do, and now I'm going to add a morning routine to the beginning of that and still have all the same things, no, I think that's a mistake. You're just creating more burden to your life, more things to churn through. And what that creates is a sense of, I need to get through this morning routine so that I can check it off my list and feel better about myself and then go check off everything else on my list. That is a good recipe for getting burnt out, for not being excited about life, for not feeling alive, for eventually quitting because you're just coercing yourself into another thing. So what's a different way? Well, what if these are things that you would actually look forward to? Like if you could make a little bit more time and space in your life, would you put these on the list? And if the answer is yes, great. You're choosing something that would be really great. If you're like, I have to freaking meditate again today. But if you're like, oh man, I get to do my 10 minutes of yoga, amazing. Like that's something that you're like excited. Or I get to do my art or dance around, and that's like such a fun thing for me to add to my day. Great. Those are good examples of things to put into your morning routine. not things you think you should be doing or have to be doing, or, like it's the right way to do things or the optimal way. No, I think that's a mistake. So things that you would actually look forward to, things that feel good to you, that make you feel better about your day. Um, and then like, let this be mentally, let this be a space of like, oh man, this is my me time. This is the space for me, because maybe the rest of the day it's not. So you're actually giving yourself a gift here. Um, a category I neglected to put in that I think is really important, so I'm going to put it in now, is uh, wonder and gratitude. How can we approach our lives so that we feel more wonder, awe, gratitude, appreciation, love for life as it is out there? Now, I actually think this could go into category 1 or category 2. So wonder and gratitude, I think, don't have to be their separate categories, but I actually think you could make a case for it being a 4th category. And this doesn't have to be long. A gratitude journal is one. Do not rush through this like, I just need to get this done. Actually let yourself feel the gratitude. What is something you appreciate about your life, about the world outside, this day, this moment? What's something you appreciate about yourself? We rarely do that. What about someone else in your life? Praising them, and maybe send them a little note. But at the very least, find a way to be grateful, to feel some appreciation, some love, and wonder. Can we be like, oh my God, look at this day in front of me? So that would be another thing. And if you can feel that, I think that's actually probably the most important thing to put into your morning routine. If you can feel that, your day is going to start out in a way where you're going to appreciate life, yourself, and others in a way you might not otherwise. And I think that's worthy of waking up 5 extra minutes for. Okay, that's what I've got for you today. Feel free to comment if you have more questions about this. If there's other things you'd like me to do videos on, please subscribe. Actually, I'm really enjoying people subscribing and engaging with the channel, leaving comments, and then share this with anyone who you think could use some beautiful things in their morning and some Zen habits in their lives. Thanks everybody.